Hi guys, I'm your host Sujay Davids, and with us today we've got senior trading strategist at CMTrading, Razak, and with him is Titi Oyinsan, who's telling us all about a fantastic program we've got lined up in May. It's called Women's Wealth. It's all about finance and business. Titi, why don't you take it away? Tell us more about the show.
Thank you, Sergio. And hi, Fred. Great to see you again. Great to see everyone. Now, women's wealth started out as an idea that came to be when the conversation about why more African women, were not so involved in trading
Yeah.
and investing as the men were. And the conversation got, a little warmer and warmer. And then we said, you know what? Why not build a program where um, women could actually learn more, myths could be busted, and we could actually get to the bottom of why that actually is. The conversation really started to lean towards children and
Okay.
um, why children hadn't got the financial literacy that they needed from schools. We talked about the fact that, you know what, before we get the government to get involved in giving kids financial literacy, we might be here for a long time. So, who next? It's the moms,
Oh wow,
families. And, it's your mom you basically learn almost everything from.
that's true.
Um, so you learn how to haggle in the market with your mom. You learn when someone is trying to maybe cheat you, your mom is the one that's going to give you a hint and say, you know what, you can get that for cheaper. So if women essentially had a lot more knowledge about financial literacy, especially in the urban areas of Africa,
Yeah.
we would have a lot more people growing up understanding how to invest wisely, how to not just save their money, but make their money work for them. There was actually a lady that I met in Port Harcourt. Now, that's a city in the riverine areas of Nigeria. And I was
Okay.
there on a project, and she sells a delicacy called bolian fish. So,
Bullion
boli is
fish.
basically roasted plantains
Oh, okay.
and roasted fish. And they
Right.
sell it by the roadside because it's a riverine area. Fish is everywhere.
Yeah.
Plantains are everywhere, swampy zone. And she had been doing this for such a long time, but she didn't have an establishment. She didn't have a brand. She didn't have enough money to send her kids to the school she wanted them to. But she had a queue around the block of people coming to buy her plantain and fish. Why hasn't she put together a nest egg to, send
I
her
see.
kids to a better school?
So she
How
has the
come?
product, but not necessarily,
Exactly,
the financial understanding.
exactly. So she
If I
was
could, yeah,
going from
sorry,
hand to
continue.
mouth, essentially. Yeah, essentially hand to mouth all the time. She needs the knowledge. She needs a show like this. So
I
that's
see.
why we decided to put it together.
Afraid if I could just drop you in there, what is the sort of, is there a disparity between, male and female traders?
Oh my gosh, you're touching on one of the most essential topics and probably the first topics. I mean, since we're hunters and gatherers, the men would be like the ones who would go out and hunt for the food and they would bring it home and the women would prepare the food. But that cliche, okay, that setup has changed over the years, obviously, in the Western world much quicker than it has in other parts of the world. But I'm really happy to hear this because it doesn't mean that women are not capable of doing everything
Right.
that men are capable of doing. And I like this emancipation. I love the energy that you're infusing for the women because this is really something that is, I believe, behind every great man, there's a greater woman. And maybe that's why you don't have such great men, but let's put that aside. That's a joke. That's a bad joke. But honestly speaking, um, there is a tremendous influx of women traders in the markets, and
Wow.
that's because that, glass ceiling has really been broken a long time ago.
Mm.
Some of the best traders that I've ever met actually were women.
Oh, wow.
And it's women and men actually function differently, right? I mean, women are multitaskers, men are too focused on one thing, and if they ask them to do something, it's like taking a drawer, opening it up, going to a file, going into one specific file, slowly. taking that file out, opening it up. Okay, this is a man, right? And taking and looking at that piece of paper and
mm,
slowly closing that file and putting it very neatly and very carefully back into that drawer and closing that drawer. While a woman's brain actually works like a spaghetti. It's all over the place, right? They're here, they're there, they're all over the place. And they're
mm,
able to see many more things. And that's why
What,
women and
spotting more
men
trends?
mm,
spotting
mm,
more trends, and it's not just that. It's the relationships, right? Women are much more relationship beings, and they're much more connected to their feelings as men are connected to their
mm,
feelings, right?
mm,
That's why they make us great mothers. They're naturally great mothers. So if you transfer some of those skills into the trading realm, into finance, there's no reason why you can't capitalize on it just even that much more. Because they do have that ability and they do have that strength that men do not have, honestly
mm,
speaking.
You,
And that,
you know, Fred, just touching on what you said earlier, I remember seeing some of our own CM trading testimonials, and quite a few of those happen to be women. And I remember one of our traders happens to come from Kenya, and she spoke about how she came from being a housewife and listening to your webinars and the education materials we've supply. She actually managed to enter online trading and make a success
mm,
of it.
mm,
So I think the key point here is, education, sort
mm,
of uplifting anyone in the, financial realm. But TT, can I ask, what are some of the trends you've spotted recently,
mm.
or well, in the last few years, just regarding women's wealth?
Yeah. So what we've noted over the past year, it's noted that women have sort of shifted their financial priority. Women are not really just saving for the future anymore right now.
Okay.
As at last year, majority of women, well, let's just say about 30% said that their primary financial goal was saving for retirement.
Right.
Um, but now about 26% say their primary goal is covering expenses. This is because
Mm.
of the global downturn or downtrend. I'm not
Can
sure the terms
understand
you
that.
want to use.
Yeah.
It's been happening all over the world.
Yeah.
Now just getting an extra can of sardines, getting an extra loaf of bread, making sure there's
Sure.
toilet tissue is now the focus, now the primary focus. 20% are prioritizing paying off debt because they had to probably borrow to cover things maybe during COVID. Um,
Yeah.
you know, nobody's really thinking about buying big things, getting a new house like they used to. Um, they just want to get to a goal of covering
Yeah.
all the things that they need to pay for.
I
Um,
see.
now, especially when it comes to parents, about
Right.
40% talk about everyday expenses like groceries. And it's overwhelming the whole world.
Fred and I, have been speaking about this for a few months now, and the world's sort of teetering on recession. I think we're there. Fred, you probably agree with me. I think we're probably already in a recession. We're just not, admitting it to ourselves, but all the signs are
Mm,
there.
mm,
yeah, yeah, I mean it's quite a downturn, but this is, everybody and especially the media loves to spin this negatively. I just see it as the biggest opportunity because when the
Okay.
shift does change, when the markets do sell off, yeah, there's like a forest fire. But what happens after a forest fire? All the bad trees who are not able to grow did not grow and they
A
died. But
period of growth. Yeah.
there's a period of growth that comes afterwards. And there's another thing. I mean, and Titi, you mentioned it before. Women and men save very differently. Okay,
mm.
men are hunter and gatherers, right? So
Yeah.
they'll save much more. They're much more aggressive about saving. Women
Mm,
are not. Women are less aggressive about saving and accumulating wealth. They're thinking more
mm,
about today.
mm,
But it does take some women a little bit of extra effort to kind of, overcome that natural tendency, in
mm,
order to think about tomorrow and in order to think about expansion and, the abilities outside of their, capacities. And I think that that's something that, the women are making that shift.
Mm.
slowly, but they're making that shift
That's good.
nonetheless.
So,
So
TT, I,
yeah,
I I know you spoke earlier about, you gave us an introduction about it, but I believe you've got a series with Fred coming up. So,
yes.
yeah,
So a women's wealth is divided into many different segments.
sure.
We have something we call the vault. Now, the
Okay.
vault, as a vault, as it's described, is basically where financial literacy secrets are stored. So we're going to break
Okay.
open that
Okay.
vault every
Awesome.
week to find out some of the secrets about what stockbrokers are doing every single
Right.
week. We'll use certain terms that they're using, certain things, windows of opportunity that they probably would discuss at random. We're not targeting and saying this is going to happen next week, but we're saying these things happen. For instance, the January effect.
Right.
You get what I mean by the January effect, of course. And we're also bringing in experts in the financial space in Africa. Uh, so we're bringing them in on the everyday exchange conversation. So the everyday exchange is another segment. So that's the vault, the everyday exchange. We bring in our experts for that. Then we have something we call WWM. That's Women's Wealth Management.
Right.
Um, and we take different commodities and we look at them specifically. So, for instance, in the first episode, we looked at Brent crude. We talked
Oh,
about what
okay.
sort of
Excellent.
commodity it is, how we women can use it to grow our wealth, and just understanding what it means in the markets in Asia, in Europe, in America, wherever,
Yeah.
so that we just have a little bit of a wider view of what is actually possible. After that,
Yeah.
I obviously bring in what's in the markets. So, what is happening in the market today? We want to bring in a weekly update about what's happening in the markets presently,
Sure.
how the DAX is doing, how, how the Dow is doing, how it's going in Asia, how it's going in Europe, what to expect over the holidays, issues with, the Fed and what they're doing, and, just Donald
Yeah.
Trump, just whatever could be happening at the time that could affect
Yeah,
the
just
market
financial
next week.
trends. It
Exactly.
sounds like you've got quite a holistic approach to, finance. I mean, you've got all your, sort of bases covered. One of the things that, some of our viewers have said on social media, and I mean, I remember even when I started,
Mhm.
dipping my toe into online trading, a lot of people still think of online trading as, something you need a degree for, something that, only big money managers can do. It's not for everyone. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that's still, out there in terms of the stigma that's attached to, trying to get into online trading?
So I never, coming into this industry, I mean, over 25, 30 years ago, this was never, ever a prerequisite to go to any kind of formalized school. In fact, some of the traders that used to trade with me, one was a taxi driver and the other one used to cut pizza for a living. And they were great, great traders, great, great traders. And that's what I love about trading. There's no
Yeah,
prerequisite. There is no prerequisite. There's nothing that you could say, hey, I'm a lawyer and therefore I'm going to be good at this. And I'll tell you that much because there were lawyers that, that were practicing decent amount of law before and they tried to go into trading and they failed. But there were guys that did not, okay,
Mm,
who came from nothing and they succeeded. So there's no prerequisite to trading and learning how to invest. I mean that's something that you accumulate by yourself. It also is a lot of self-work, okay, to tell you the truth. And it's not just education, it's developing the self, which I think is the most important element because if you believe in yourself, if you believe that you're capable of attaining whatever wealth that you're looking for, the means are just it's just part of the program. It's not that's not the most important component of it. It's
mm.
the drive, it's the direction, it's the goal. It's what am I going to do in order to get to that? And what am I going to give? And what am I going to get? But get to myself, meaning what information do I need to know in order to get to that? Okay,
That is
it's
sounds good.
it's not arbitrary. Success is not arbitrary. It's very clear. And if you're successful at something that comes easy to you, then you're not going to hold on to it. It's something that you earn over time.
It's
Mm.
that drive. So finally, to end off, TT, when can we expect the first part of your series?
All right, so the whole series is supposed to begin in May by God's
Awesome.
grace. We're trying to be as thorough as possible with our
Yeah,
first few episodes because we don't want to get it wrong. We want to get it right. We want to
no, of
pull
course.
people in as much as we can and hold them, and then also give them the opportunity to take advantage of the amazing education that CM Trading is giving.
Yeah,
So we decided to add in a QR code right there on the screen. It'll be popping up every other 10 minutes. That'll lead
awesome.
you to the CM Trading website
Oh,
so
wow.
that you can learn a thing or two. It'll show you where Dr. Fred Razak's classes, all his educational videos are. We'll definitely have some team members ready to speak with them. Anyone who's interested. Of course, we are targeting women, and we will
Sure,
be
sure.
giving incentives to a certain extent, as the boss allows, to women who decide to take that leap, to jump in and decide to start trading. And of course, we want to make it as continuous as possible. So we want to start well. So by God's grace, beginning of May, we're good to go.
Awesome. I think you and Fred are going to do an outstanding job, and I can't wait to see the show. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we go, I wanted to just show you a little clip. It's
Oh,
actually
awesome.
just the opening montage of the show.
Oh,
I feel
cool.
really proud of it because
Yeah, let's see.
I got an African, a Nigerian music producer
Oh, okay.
to produce an actual soundtrack for it. And also we got a graphics team to create the montage. So I'm really feeling proud of this one. This is the opening montage of Women's Wealth.
Wow. Very,
Beautiful.
very cool. Very cool. And what
Brought
a
to you
beat.
by CM. You like that soundtrack?
I like it. You
So
need to send it to me separately. That's awesome.
I can. So
Awesome.
it's we didn't want to make it boring. We didn't want to make it all dull, and we want people to be excited and interested, but we didn't want to make it too feminine. I want to touch on that. We
No, I
didn't
think
want
you've
to
nailed it.
put pink and flowers all over the place, you
Yeah.
know. And we've already brought in the experts, and we're
Oh,
having
okay.
all sorts of conversations are possible with the show. We're making it colorful and light, a happy energy as much as possible. And then we will throw it to Dr. Fred, who gives us the serious stuff, the stuff we need to learn today. Yeah, so we have all the fun conversations, then we throw it to Dr. Fred to give us the how to do's and don'ts of what we should be doing
You,
to
you
get on
know,
with our
Fred makes an awesome motivational speaker. I look forward to his motivational Mondays. It,
Oh wow.
it's just awesome. You
We
know
should
what?
take some of those clips. We should take some of them and add them to the show.
You should. You know, if nothing else, you are raising a very important question. You know, it's opening up discussions about topics that might not necessarily have been approachable even a few years ago.
Mm,
You know, finance is everything, and we should be having these conversations. It's no longer a male female conversation. It affects everyone. And everyone, as our motto goes, trading is for everyone. It's a way to achieve your, financial success. And as
It
Fred
is.
pointed
Mm,
earlier, anyone can do it. You just have to have that drive,
mm.
the discipline, and education.
The only challenge I saw um,
Yeah,
back then was having to start from the ABCs, having to start from the very beginning,
yeah.
from what is money, you know, the history of money,
Money.
and actually breaking down how trade began. Um, and I thought that that was a little bit overwhelming because in the end, if you don't understand the origin of money and how money works, you won't be able to respect it. So when you're earning money, eventually, if you don't respect it, you're gonna abuse it. And once you abuse
And
it and you
waste
fail
it.
and waste it, and then
Yeah.
once that happens once or twice, you're gonna fall off the wagon and probably never want to come back. Um, then the issue of greed, and the way greed makes people do, it's a whole,
Yeah, I think we can, I think there's lots of topics that hopefully we're going to discuss this week,
yeah.
and touch on. And, I can't wait until, I see the first episode. So thanks a lot, you guys, and best of luck.
Thank you.